Hi everyone, my name is Joanna. I'm here to share my story with you, a story that took place right here in a quiet, unassuming town in the heart of America. A town that could be any town, anywhere. If you're watching this, please, I urge you to stay to listen, and if my words resonate with you, consider subscribing and leaving a comment. Your support, your understanding means more than you can ever imagine. My life, for a very long time, was a tightly woven tapestry of silence and fear. On the surface, it might have looked like any other life in suburban America. A modest house with a small, manicured lawn, a reliable car in the driveway, and a daughter, Lily, who was the sun, moon, and stars in my desolate universe. But beneath that veneer of normalcy, there was a darkness that permeated every corner of our existence. A darkness that was both a person and a pervasive feeling. His name was Mark, and he was my husband. Mark wasn't always this way. In the beginning he was charming, attentive, almost overwhelmingly so. He swept me off my feet with grand gestures and promises of a beautiful future. He had a way of making me feel like I was the only woman in the world, and for a young, naive woman like me, it was intoxicating. The red flags, if there were any, were so subtly woven into the fabric of our early relationship that I dismissed them, or perhaps I simply didn't know how to recognize them. A possessive streak here, a controlling comment there, brushed aside as signs of his intense love. He just cares about me so much, I'd tell myself, a foolish mantra that would echo through years of pain. The change was gradual, almost imperceptible at first. It started with words, cutting remarks disguised as jokes, criticisms about my appearance or my decisions that slowly chipped away at my self-esteem. Then came the isolation. Friends drifted away not because I pushed them but because Mark would subtly or not so subtly make it difficult for me to see them. He'd accuse me of flirting, of neglecting him, of putting others before our sacred bond. My family became a source of suspicion to him, their well-meaning advice twisted into attempts to undermine our marriage. Soon my world shrunk to just him and me, and later him, me, and Lily. The physical abuse began after Lily was born. The stress of new parenthood, Mark claimed. He was tired, he was overwhelmed, he was just snapping. The first time it was a shove, a hard push against the kitchen counter during an argument about money. I remember the shock, the cold realization of what had just happened. My heart pounded not just from the impact but from a dawning horror. He immediately apologized, tearfully, profusely, promising it would never happen again. And I, in my desperation to believe in the man I thought I married, in the future I still clung to, I forgave him. I always forgave him. That first time opened the floodgates. The shoves became slaps, the slaps became punches. The apologies grew shorter, less convincing, eventually disappearing altogether. The justifications, however, grew more elaborate. It was my fault, always my fault. I provoked him. I didn't listen. I made him angry. I was clumsy. I was stupid. Each blow landed not just on my skin but on my spirit, eroding my sense of self, my worth, my very identity. I learned to anticipate his moods, to walk on eggshells, to choose my words with agonizing care. My existence became a constant negotiation with his volatile temper, a desperate attempt to avoid the next explosion. Lily was a silent witness to much of it, though I tried to shield her. I'd pretend a bruise was from bumping into a door, a black eye from a clumsy fall. But children are perceptive. Even as a toddler, she would grow quiet when Mark's voice rose, her small hand instinctively reaching for mine, squeezing it tight. My heart would ache with a pain far deeper than any physical blow, knowing that her innocence was being tainted by the ugliness of our home. My biggest fear wasn't for myself anymore, it was for her. I feared the day she would fully understand, the day she would see the truth of what her father was, what her mother had become. I feared the cycle repeating itself, that she too might someday find herself trapped in a similar cage. Leaving felt impossible. He controlled everything. Our finances were his domain. He doled out small amounts of cash for groceries, demanding receipts, questioning every penny. My phone was monitored, my calls and texts scrutinized. He had made sure I had no job, no independent income, no escape route. He constantly reminded me of my helplessness, of how dependent I was on him, how no one else would ever want me, damaged goods like me. He threatened to take Lily, to accuse me of being an unfit mother if I ever tried to leave. The thought of losing her, even the possibility, was a terror that paralyzed me more effectively than any physical blow. So I stayed, living in a gilded cage built of fear and false promises. The day everything changed was a Tuesday. I remember the exact date, October 17th. It was Lily's 5th birthday. We had planned a small celebration, just the three of us, with a homemade cake and a few presents. Lily was ecstatic, her eyes shining with the unadulterated joy that only a child can possess. Mark had been in a foul mood all day, a dark cloud hanging over him, but I'd hoped, prayed that for Lily's sake he would put it aside. He didn't. The argument started over something trivial, a misplaced toy or a slight delay in dinner. His voice escalated, becoming a guttural growl that always sent shivers down my spine. Lily, who had been laughing just moments before, froze, her small face paling. I tried to de-escalate, to soothe, to agree with whatever ridiculous accusation he hurled my way. But his rage was a wildfire, uncontrollable and destructive. He grabbed my arm, twisting it, forcing me to drop the plate I was holding. It shattered on the tile floor, scattering shards like deadly confetti. Lily let out a small whimper, a sound that pierced through my terror and struck a chord of fierce protectiveness within me. I instinctively stepped in front of her, shielding her with my body. "Get out of the way," Mark roared, his eyes blazing with a hatred I had seen countless times, but never directed at me with such raw intensity in front of Lily. He pushed me hard, sending me stumbling backward, my head hitting the edge of the kitchen counter with a sickening thud. The world spun, a kaleidoscope of pain and disorienting light. I slumped to the floor, my vision blurring, a warm trickle of blood beginning to seep from my scalp. Through the haze I saw Lily. Her face was contorted in a silent scream, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her small hands were pressed over her mouth, muffling the sound, but her eyes, wide and terrified, were fixed on me, on the blood on her father. In that moment something inside me snapped. Not broke, but snapped into focus. The fear, the resignation, the years of self-doubt, they all fractured, replaced by a searing clarity. This was it. This was the line. He had dared to hurt me, truly hurt me, in front of our child on her birthday. He had taken her innocence, shattered her joy, and replaced it with terror. He had to be stopped. Not just for me, but for Lily. She deserved more than this life, more than this fear. She deserved to feel safe, to feel loved, to be free. With a strength I didn't know I possessed, I pushed myself up, my head throbbing, my body screaming in protest. Mark was still standing there, his chest heaving, his eyes still wild. He looked almost surprised that I was still upright. "You're not going to hurt her," I said, my voice hoarse but steady, a newfound resolve hardening my words. "Not anymore. Never again." He scoffed, a sneer twisting his lips. "You think you can stop me, Joanna? You're nothing without me." His words, once so potent, now held no power over me. The fear was gone, replaced by a cold, burning anger. I grabbed Lily's hand, her small fingers clutching mine like a lifeline. "Come on, baby," I whispered, pulling her towards the back door. He moved to block us, but I was faster, fueled by an adrenaline I had never known. We burst out the back door into the cool evening air. I didn't look back. I just ran. We ran down the street, my bare feet slapping against the pavement, Lily stumbling behind me, her small legs struggling to keep up. I didn't know where we were going, only that we had to get away. My neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, a kind, elderly woman who always had a smile and a fresh batch of cookies, was just pulling into her driveway. Her eyes widened when she saw us, disheveled and frantic, blood in my hair. "Joanna, what happened?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. "He hurt me. We need help," I stammered, my voice trembling. Mrs. Henderson, without a moment's hesitation, ushered us into her home. Her warmth was a balm to my raw nerves. She helped me clean my wound, her gentle hands surprisingly firm. She gave Lily a juice box and a blanket, speaking to her in soothing tones, distracting her with stories of her own grandchildren. And then she did what I couldn't bring myself to do. She called the police. The police arrived quickly. 2 officers, their faces serious but kind. I recounted the events, my voice shaking at first, then gaining strength as I spoke the truth aloud after so many years of silence. They listened patiently, their expressions unwavering. They took photos of my injuries, documented Lily's distress. They asked if I wanted to press charges. For the first time I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I said, my voice clear and firm. "Yes, I do." Mark was arrested that night. The relief that washed over me was so profound it almost buckled my knees. It wasn't the end of the battle, I knew that, but it was the first victory. The first step towards a new life. The days that followed were a blur of appointments, legal proceedings, and the overwhelming task of starting over. A social worker, a kind woman named Sarah, became my lifeline. She helped me navigate the complexities of temporary housing, applying for assistance and finding legal aid. She connected me with a domestic violence shelter, a safe haven where Lily and I could begin to heal. The shelter was a revelation. It was a place filled with women who had stories similar to mine, women who understood the fear, the shame, the profound sense of isolation. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. I found strength in their resilience, in their shared determination to rebuild their lives. I started attending support groups, tentatively sharing my experiences, slowly, painfully peeling back the layers of trauma. Speaking my truth, hearing others speak theirs, was incredibly therapeutic. I learned that what happened to me wasn't my fault, that I wasn't to blame for his actions. It was a revelation that brought both immense relief and a deep aching sadness for all the years I had believed otherwise. The legal process was arduous. Mark predictably fought tooth and nail. He tried to discredit me, to paint me as unstable, as a vengeful ex-wife. He threatened me through his lawyer, hinting at retaliation if I didn't drop the charges. But I stood firm. With the support of my legal aid attorney, a sharp and compassionate woman named Ms. Davies, we built a strong case. Lily's testimony, though delivered through a child psychologist, was heartbreakingly clear. The police report, the photographs of my injuries, Mrs. Henderson's statement, it all mounted against him. During this time, Lily began therapy. It was difficult at first. She would have nightmares, sudden bouts of sadness, and moments of withdrawn silence. But with the gentle guidance of her therapist, she slowly began to process the trauma. She started drawing again, her pictures gradually shifting from dark, scribbled figures to brighter, more hopeful scenes. Seeing her healing, seeing her reclaim her childhood joy, fueled my resolve. I was doing this for her. One of the most challenging aspects was severing all ties with Mark. It wasn't just about the physical separation. It was about breaking the psychological hold he still tried to exert. Every letter from his lawyer, every desperate phone call he managed to make from jail, was a reminder of the past, a tug back into the darkness. But with each passing day, his grip weakened. I was no longer afraid of him. I was angry, yes, but mostly I was determined to protect my daughter and myself. The trial date finally arrived. The courtroom was a daunting place, filled with an oppressive silence. Facing Mark across the room was agonizing. He looked smaller, less menacing, stripped of his power, but the sight of him still churned my stomach. I gave my testimony, my voice stronger than I thought possible, recounting years of abuse, of fear, of silent suffering. I looked at the jury, at their impassive faces, and hoped they saw not a victim but a survivor. The verdict came after what felt like an eternity. Guilty. The word resonated through the courtroom, a powerful affirmation of justice. He was sentenced to prison, a sentence that, while not erasing the past, offered a sense of closure and a guarantee of our safety. The sense of liberation was overwhelming. I cried, not tears of sadness but tears of release, of relief, of a profound, liberating joy. Life after the verdict was still a journey, not a destination. Healing is a process, not an event. I enrolled in community college, something I had always dreamed of but was never allowed to pursue. I started with a few basic courses, tentatively exploring subjects that interested me. I found a part-time job at a local library, a quiet, peaceful place where I could immerse myself in stories and learn new skills. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work, and it gave me a sense of purpose and independence I had craved for so long. Lily thrived. She made friends at her new school, her laughter echoing through our small, rented apartment. She loved the library, and we would spend hours there together, reading, discovering new worlds. Her eyes, once shadowed with fear, now sparkled with curiosity and joy. Her resilience was an inspiration, a testament to the human spirit's capacity for healing and growth. There were still moments of doubt, moments when the memories would surface, threatening to drag me back into the darkness. A sudden loud noise, a tense conversation, a fleeting resemblance to Mark in a stranger's face. These could trigger a wave of anxiety. But now I had tools to cope. I had therapy, I had my support group, and most importantly, I had Lily. Her presence was a constant reminder of why I fought, why I survived. One day, several months after the trial, I was volunteering at a local charity event, helping to organize donations for families in need. I saw a woman, her face bruised and her eyes hollow with fear, clutching a small child. She looked exactly as I had felt so many years ago. Without thinking, I approached her. "Are you okay?" I asked gently, my voice soft, empathetic. She flinched, her eyes widening in alarm. I'm fine. "You don't have to be," I said, my voice unwavering. "My name is Joanna. I've been there. You're not alone." Her eyes searched mine, and in them, I saw a flicker of hope, a desperate need for connection. I sat down beside her, sharing my story not as a victim but as a survivor. I told her about the fear, the silence, the day everything changed, and the long, arduous journey to freedom. I told her about the resources available, the shelters, the legal aid, the support groups. I told her that she deserved a life free from fear, and that her child deserved it even more. As I spoke, I realized the power of my own voice, a voice that had been silenced for so long. It wasn't just my story anymore. It was a testament to resilience, a beacon of hope for others trapped in similar cages. I saw a glimmer of resolve ignite in her eyes, a spark of the same fierce protectiveness that had propelled me to run that fateful night. My life isn't perfect now. No life is. There are still challenges, still moments of vulnerability. But it is my life, lived on my terms, filled with light and love and the unwavering bond one share with Lily. The scars remain, physical and emotional, but they are no longer marks of shame. They are badges of survival, reminders of the strength I found within myself, the strength that emerged from the depths of pain and fear. I look at Lily now, a vibrant, happy child who is finally free to simply be a child. Her laughter fills our small home, a melody of pure joy. And in those moments I know without a shadow of a doubt that every single step of this painful journey was worth it. Every tear, every struggle, every terrifying leap into the unknown. Because from the ashes of a shattered life, we built something new, something beautiful, something truly free. So if you are listening, if you are watching, and if any part of my story resonates with you, please know this. You are not alone. You are stronger than you think. And there is always, always hope for a new beginning. Speak up. Reach out. Your voice, your life, your freedom, they are worth fighting for. And sometimes, it takes just one moment, one painful truth, to change everything forever. My journey of healing, though, was far from over. There were still echoes of the past that resonated in unexpected moments. One such moment came a few years after Mark's conviction, when Lily, then a bright-eyed 8-year-old, came home from school one afternoon with a crumpled drawing in her hand. It was a picture of a house, and above it, a dark, shadowy figure. She looked at me, her brow furrowed with a seriousness that was beyond her years. "Mommy," she began, her voice small, "why did Daddy do those things?" The question, so direct and innocent, caught me off guard. I had tried so hard to shield her, to build a new narrative of safety and love. But the past, like a stubborn weed, found ways to push through. I knelt, taking her small hand in mine. "Sweetheart," I started, choosing my words carefully, "Daddy was sick. He had a sickness inside him that made him hurt people, even people he loved. It wasn't because of anything you did or anything I did. It was his sickness." Lily pondered this for a moment, her gaze still fixed on the drawing. "Will he ever get better?" she asked, her voice tinged with a hope I hadn't realized she still held. My heart ached with the weight of that question. How do you explain the complexities of human cruelty and redemption to a child? "I don't know, baby," I confessed, my voice softening. "Some sicknesses are very hard to cure. But what I do know is that we are safe now. And we will always be safe, together." I hugged her close, feeling the fragile strength of her small body against mine. That conversation was a stark reminder that while my physical wounds had healed and Mark was out of our lives, the emotional scars, particularly for Lily, would require ongoing care and understanding. As time went on, my work at the library became more than just a job. It became a passion. I discovered a love for organizing information, for connecting people with stories that could inform, inspire, or simply offer an escape. I even started leading a small book club, a diverse group of women who met once a week to discuss everything from classic literature to contemporary thrillers. It was in that book club that I met Brenda, a woman a few years older than me with a quick wit and an infectious laugh. Brenda had retired from a long career as a social worker, and as we talked, our conversations often drifted to the human condition, to resilience, and to the quiet struggles many faced. One evening, after a particularly engaging discussion about a novel dealing with domestic strife, Brenda pulled me aside. "Joanna," she said, her eyes warm and perceptive, "you have a way of understanding these characters, of articulating their pain and their strength. Have you ever thought about taking your story beyond this room?" I hesitated. While I had shared snippets of my past with trusted friends, the idea of publicly exposing the most vulnerable parts of my life still felt daunting. "I don't know, Brenda," I replied, my voice tinged with uncertainty. It's a lot." Brenda smiled gently. "It is a lot. But your voice, your experience, could be a lifeline for someone out there who feels as lost and alone as you once did. Imagine the impact you could have." Her words lingered in my mind long after our meeting. The seed she planted began to sprout. I started volunteering at the local domestic violence shelter, the same one that had offered me refuge years ago. I began by helping with administrative tasks, sorting donations and assisting with intake. But soon I found myself sitting with women newly arrived, their faces etched with the same fear and confusion I remembered so well. I shared parts of my story not as a lecture but as a testament to survival. I saw their eyes light up with a flicker of hope, a recognition that they weren't crazy, that they weren't alone, and that escape was truly possible. One afternoon while working at the shelter, a crisis occurred. A young woman barely out of her teens arrived with two terrified toddlers, her face a canvas of fresh bruises. Her husband, she sobbed, had found her hiding place with a relative and had attacked her again, threatening to take the children if she ever tried to leave him for good. The police had been called, but she was inconsolable, convinced he would find her again, that she would never truly be safe. My heart went out to her. I remembered that exact, paralyzing fear. I sat with her for hours, listening, offering words of comfort and reassurance. I told her about the legal protections, about the resources available, about the strength she possessed even if she couldn't see it yet. As I spoke, I realized how far I had come. The woman sitting before me was a mirror reflecting my past, and in her vulnerability I saw my own journey full circle. That night, as she finally drifted off to sleep, exhausted but with a glimmer of hope in her eyes, I knew what I had to do. I called Brenda the next day. "I'm ready," I told her, my voice firm with a newfound conviction. "I want to share my story. All of it." Brenda was thrilled. She connected me with a local women's advocacy group that was organizing a series of public awareness events. My first speaking engagement was at a small community center, filled with about 50 people, a mix of survivors, advocates, and concerned citizens. My palms were sweaty, my heart pounded in my chest, and the old fears tried to creep back in. But then I looked at Lily, who was sitting in the front row with Brenda, her eyes shining with pride. And I looked out at the faces in the audience, knowing that somewhere among them, there might be someone who needed to hear what I had to say. I began by introducing myself just as I did at the start of this very story. "My name is Joanna, and I'm here to tell you a story that took place in a town just like yours. A story of silence, fear, and ultimately of finding a voice." I spoke for nearly an hour, recounting the years of abuse, the slow erosion of my spirit, the terrifying night that changed everything, and the long, arduous path to healing. I didn't sugarcoat the pain, nor did I dwell on victimhood. Instead, I focused on the resilience, the incremental steps towards freedom, and the unwavering love for my daughter that propelled me forward. When I finished, there was a hushed silence, then a ripple of applause that quickly grew into a standing ovation. Several women approached me afterward, their eyes brimming with tears, sharing their own stories, whispering words of gratitude. One woman, her face streaked with tears, simply said, "Thank you. You just gave me the courage to make a call I've been dreading for years." In that moment, I understood the profound impact of sharing my truth. Word of my talks spread. I started receiving invitations to speak at larger events, at universities, even at state conferences on domestic violence prevention. Each time I felt the nervous flutter, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of purpose. I spoke about the insidious nature of control, the psychological manipulation that often precedes physical violence, and the critical importance of creating safe spaces and accessible resources for survivors. I also emphasized the role of community, neighbors, friends, family in recognizing the signs and offering support. My life transformed in ways I could never have imagined. I was no longer just a survivor. I was an advocate, a voice for the voiceless. My past, once a source of deep shame, became a powerful tool for change. Lily, now a confident and empathetic teenager, often accompanied me to events, occasionally helping me set up or handing out flyers. She was proud of me, and in her eyes, I saw not the scared child who witnessed violence, but a young woman inspired by her mother's strength. Years passed. Lily graduated from high school with honors, setting her sights on a career in social work, driven by her own experiences and a deep desire to help others. My book club flourished, and I continued my work at the library, finding new ways to integrate awareness about domestic violence into our community outreach programs. I even started writing a memoir, a detailed account of my journey, hoping to reach an even wider audience. It was a painstaking process, reliving the memories but also cathartic, a final act of reclaiming my narrative. One autumn afternoon I received a letter. It was from Mark. It had been years since I had heard from him, and a shiver ran down my spine as I saw his name on the return address. My first instinct was to throw it away to protect the peace I had so painstakingly built. But a part of me, a part that had grown stronger and braver, felt a strange pull. I opened it. The letter was short, handwritten, and surprisingly devoid of the venom I had once known. He spoke of regret, of the consequences of his actions, and of finding a fragile path towards understanding during his incarceration. He didn't ask for forgiveness, nor did he make excuses. He simply stated that he was deeply sorry for the pain he had caused, especially to Lily. He acknowledged the choices he had made and expressed a hope that we had found peace. I read the letter several times, a kaleidoscope of emotions swirling within me. Anger, yes, but also a profound sense of sadness for the wasted years, for the man he could have been. What surprised me most was the absence of fear. His words, once capable of crippling me, now felt distant, almost irrelevant to the vibrant life I had built. I didn't respond to the letter. There was nothing left to say. His words didn't change my past, but they affirmed my present. His acknowledgement, however belated, was a testament to the fact that my truth had indeed been heard, and that justice in its many forms had prevailed. Today my life is full of purpose. I am no longer defined by the trauma I endured, but by the resilience I discovered. I am a mother, a friend, a writer, an advocate. I still carry the scars, both visible and invisible, but they are no longer wounds that bleed. They are a permanent part of my story, a testament to what I survived and a constant reminder of the preciousness of freedom and safety. My hope in sharing this deeply personal journey is that it might resonate with someone somewhere who is still trapped in the silence. That it might offer a glimmer of light in their darkest hour, a whisper of courage in their deepest fear. Because the true story of a mother, of any human being, is not just about enduring pain, but about finding the strength to break free, to heal, and to reclaim a life defined not by abuse, but by the boundless power of resilience and the unwavering pursuit of justice and peace. It's about remembering that even in the darkest of times, one act of defiance, one small step towards freedom, can change your life, and the lives of those you love, forever. Joanna's healing journey continued, marked by Lily's innocent questions about her father's actions, which Joanna gently addressed by explaining his sickness without blaming Lily. This reinforced her commitment to their safety. Inspired by her friend Brenda, a retired social worker, Joanna began volunteering at the domestic violence shelter that once helped her. She found immense purpose in sharing her story with new arrivals, offering hope and guidance. A pivotal moment came when she helped a young, bruised mother, realizing the profound impact of her own survival. This solidified her decision to share her story publicly, starting with small community talks. Her powerful narrative resonated, leading to invitations to speak at larger events and conferences. Joanna became a respected advocate for domestic violence awareness, using her past not as a source of shame, but as a tool for change. Lily, now a confident teenager, supported her mother and pursued a career in social work, inspired by Joanna's resilience. Years later, Joanna received a letter from Mark. It contained regret and a belated apology, but no longer evoked fear. She didn't respond, recognizing his words as a testament to her regained freedom and the justice that had been served. Joanna's life, now filled with purpose as a writer and advocate, was defined by her strength and the unwavering bond with Lily, proving that from the ashes of trauma, a life of freedom and advocacy could blossom.